I'm Areej. Hello, I'm Areej Abu from Education in a Nutshell. Who we are and what we do. Education in a Nutshell is a new initiative to enhance teaching and learning, to improve the educational process as a whole unit and move it to the new technological era. We provide e-learning sessions for students as well as teachers in an enjoyable yet beneficial way. We will learn how to write incredible introductions and captivating conclusions. Before we start with our session today, you need to know that this session consists of two parts. Writing incredible introduction is one part, and writing a captivating conclusion is the second part. For today's part, we will start with the objective of this part of the session. Then we will define different purposes of writing, followed by we will explain what are the elements of introduction, and finally we're going to end it with an exercise. Before we talk about the introduction, we need to know the objectives. This mini lesson will explain functions of introductions, offer strategies for creating effective introductions, and also provide some examples of this effective introductions to avoid and to move away. But before we start, we need to ask ourselves, okay, and I will ask Mr. Nagel here, why do you think we write?
We have different aims for writing. We might try to persuade someone of our idea, persuade him. It's
very good.
Yes. Sometimes we write for entertainment, entertain the reader.
Brilliant.
And sometimes we write something to inform the reader of something that is not known.
Very good. As Mr. Nagel gave us his answer, we have three possible purposes or goals for writing. We either write to persuade, which means to convince someone with our idea, to make someone or the reader believe what we believe and follow our point of view. And a very good example for writing to persuade is campaign advertisements or a debate. The second purpose is write to inform, which means that we give examples, we provide details, we share information with others. A very good example for write to inform is scientific articles, for example. The third purpose that we have is writing to entertain, which means we write to interest or to amuse. And a very good example of it is a comic column on a newspaper. Since we know why we write, we need to set our purpose clear at the beginning of our writing. This will move us to writing introductions. Why introductions are important? Introductions are the first impression that your paper leaves at the reader. They either decide to continue reading or to lose interest. Simply, introduction acts like a bridge that transports your readers from their own life, from their tablets, from their Facebook, from their Instagram account, and make them really interested in reading your paper. It moves them from all of these things to where you are or your place of analysis.
My students always ask me, is writing an introduction is hard or an easy job? Anything can be hard or easy if you don't know what are the procedures to follow. There are certain techniques to write a captivating or interesting introduction that make it easier for you and for others when you write. We need to know the elements of an introduction. First, we have the hook, the background information, and finally we have the thesis statement. The hook is simply what you will say to draw the reader's attention, to make them interested in reading what you write. The background information, it gives the main points, the details, but not really detailed details, just the main ideas or the main points. And finally, the thesis statement that will tell your claim or position. Let's go and look closely at each and every one of these elements. The first element we said, or the first step, is our hook. Okay, there are many techniques to hook a reader or to make them interested in what your paper is talking about. The first technique is tell a story. Who doesn't like to be told a little tale at the beginning? The second way is quote someone famous. Write a quote that related to your topic by someone else who said it, that this person is really famous. For example, we'll have To Be or Not to Be, That's Not the Question, by William Shakespeare. Or Ask Not What Your Country Can Do For You, But What You Can Do For Your Country, by John F. Kennedy. The third technique we have is reveal a surprise. Who doesn't like to be startled up with a surprise? An example for this, love is a toxic medicine holding the ability to both heal and harm. Love is a medicine? Love is toxic? Of course I got surprised and I will want to follow and read more about your topic. Finally, we ask a question. The question technique as a hook has proved itself correct all the time. An example for this will be, is bigger always better? Is more better than less? Is no always necessary to be better? And so on. These are not only the old techniques. These are some of the techniques that I've tried myself and I found them effective when I write introduction. This will take us to our next element, which is background information. As we said before about background information, there are general brief information about your topic. You don't want to give all the details now, because if you give all the details in your introduction, why would the reader continue and go to the body paragraphs? So they need to be bare, specific, and simple information. Our third and main point of an introduction is a thesis statement. But before we learn how to write a thesis statement, we need to ask what a thesis statement does to your paper or does to your introduction. First, it sums up the main point of your paper. It's usually 1 or 2 sentences long, and finally it appears at the end of the introduction. I always advise my students to start with writing thesis statement first, and then write the specific information, and finally go back to their hook. Okay, now are you ready to end your introduction? There are 3 main ingredients to cook up a good thesis statement. Ingredient number 1 is a research question. You need to search for a good question that your paper will answer. This question should simply summarize what your paper will be about, what the readers need to know about this topic, followed by a strong answer. You need to create and build your answer for the research question, but this strong answer should show your claim, should support your position, the background information and the thesis information. Okay, before we go to the exercise, I need to remind you that the hook is the sentence at the beginning, is a sentence at the beginning of your introduction paragraph that, no? I have an exercise now which is a simple paragraph. You need to mention or you need to underline your hook, your background information, your thesis statement. But before I leave you with this exercise, I want to remind you that the hook, the background, background information and the thesis statements are the elements of writing an effective introduction. The hook is the sentence or the question at the beginning of your introduction paragraph that draws the reader attention. The background information are the brief general information about topic, and the thesis statement is the statement that shows your claim, that supports your position, that stands for what you believe. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Here is Areej Abu from Education in a Nutshell.